Smart Talks United.
Hello people, it's your boy Osman back again with another tactic breakdown. Listen, everyone obviously gave a lot of good feedback for the last one, so I thought, you know what, who do I know that knows tactics more than me? He took his team from 6th to 2nd. The man himself, he's in the building. You got Kojo as co-host. Kojo, how you doing, my guy?
I'm good, bro. I'm happy to be doing more tactical. You know how it goes, so I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm all right, man. I'm good, man. I'm happy to have a co-host for this one, obviously. It makes my life easier, but what will also make my life easier if you guys can get your questions in, any comments you want us to answer, just like a general consensus, of course. Slap a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to try and do this more frequently prior to every game. The Arsenal game is coming up on Thursday. Prior to every game, we're going to try and give you a different perspective. Obviously, look at the opposition's strengths and weakness and try and give a tactical overview of that, like we were the managers ourselves. So then we can't, basically criticize everything the manager does. But anyways, first and foremost, just want to say to everyone that is tuning in and keep getting your comments in. I'm going to try and read out as much as I possibly can. First things first, as I've already said, we're very close to 1.3k followers or subscribers, should I say. So if you haven't, please just subscribe, follow myself and Kojo on our socials, because we tweet fairly regularly about Man United. So all the latest news, all that good stuff. You can stay up to date. First things first, the homies in the building. Are you ever on time? You can blame Kojo for that. I was sat here a while, but this lovely gentleman here who was just finishing off his food, so it is where it is. But we do apologize. Asians tend to be late, and it's in our DNA. The United Way is in the building. Shout out to you as always supporting the channel. We appreciate you. And last but not least, James in the building. Hi all. Hello, James. Hopefully you're doing well. But listen, there's only one place to start. Before we get into the actual tactical aspect of it, there's a couple of things we want to cover. First things first, we want to just kind of set the tone in terms of what we expect from Rangnick, what changes we want to see, and then obviously we'll implement them in a Man United system. So we'll get to that a bit later on the show. If you're watching this in repeat, don't worry. The tactic board is back, and obviously Kojo is here to assist with those matters. But firstly, I just want to start with the 1-1 draw against Chelsea. Of course, Carrick is still at the wheel. Carrick's at charge, whatever you want to call it. Man United drawing 1-1, courtesy of a Jadon Sancho goal, and sadly, Jorginho equalised courtesy of Wan-Bissaka L, which is basically what Booker T does every single day. But listen, Kojo, how are you feeling after that result?
I'm actually quite good. And the reason I'm good is because I didn't know what to expect with Carrick. But what I really enjoyed was the fact that one against Villarreal, he was very, very. It was a lot more tactical than we've seen in recent times.
Hey, Kojo, one second. I'm gonna have to stop you. I'm gonna have to stop you for a second. I don't know why, but your audio is playing in fast motion, and it's so weird. Have you got some setting on or something? It's like your voice is sped up. It's so weird. What is going on?
It's sped up.
Oh, it seems better now. Everyone's saying in the chat as well.
Okay.
I don't know. Right, try again. Let us know in the chat what it's like. Because for me, it's like when you fast forward a voice note, it was like but it sounds better now. But yeah, keep talking. Let us know in the chat if it's all right. But yeah, Kojo.
Yeah. If you mess us up again, tell me, and I will go to my finger and fix it. Yeah, I feel like talking really slow now.
It seems alright now.
But basically,
me anyways.
Okay, good. Carrick, I think he gave us what we could expect. We got out of the group stage. It felt good. It felt comfortable.
That's the story. Yeah, it's good now. Okay,
it was a lot more tactical as well. I think the fact that we pressed a lot better. Fred was pressing effectively. Sancho was pressing effectively. Ronaldo was pressing at the right times. That's what we want from our players. And then for Chelsea, I didn't expect us to. Well, I said hopefully a 2-1, but I didn't expect us to really beat them. So to go there, get a draw, and for them to come away feeling like maybe they just about got away with a draw it's a good thing for Carrick. So hopefully against Arsenal, he does the same thing again. Well, win this time actually, not draw.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned the press. Of course, that is something that, is a very, very influential in terms of the way Rangnick wants to play, in terms of his personal philosophy. So there are some people saying, "Oh, Rangnick instilled the gegenpress, blah blah." We saw moments. For me personally, I don't really believe it too much into that. I think it's just a bit of a myth that Rangnick had any say on that. I think Harry does deserve his credit, really, to be honest. As you said, away from home, a good result. We don't notoriously have a good record against Chelsea, anyways, even under Alex Ferguson's days away at Stamford Bridge. So I'll take that every single day of the week. But the point you made about the pressing, I think that's one of the most key things, that people press with IQ. People don't press randomly like Bruno Fernandez does in the past. Don't want to single him out, but he's a sheer culprit of someone who presses on a solo thing, and you need a choreographed press, so to speak, a coherent, cohesive press, and that's something that Rangnick definitely will instill in this team. But yeah, overall, fair play to Manchester United. So I'm just gonna quickly, just to set the scene, so to speak, for the podcast itself. Obviously, we are going to go through some of the positives and, of course, some of the negatives. So I just want to quickly share this clip. I don't know which screen it is. Hopefully, I've got the right one up. I don't have a clue, so I'm just guessing. So hopefully, it's this one. I think it's this one. Right, okay, so let's just get this clip up here. I'm sure most of you have seen it if you have been on social media today. It's a clip of Scott McTominay being Scott McTominay. So the reason I'm playing this clip, the main purpose of me playing this clip really is just to get an understanding where we are currently as a football club. Of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been here for the last 3 years. A lot of these players are, basically picking up his bad habits to an extent, and it seems like they are continuing. So hopefully the audio's working. In fact, I don't even need audio for it. Hopefully it's not crashing. Oh, there we go.
Chelsea finishing another.
So as you can quite clearly see, 4 passes on, but as always, Scott McTominay plays it backwards. So I'm just going to stop sharing there because obviously we don't too much advice. Basically, the premise of me showing this clip is for us to understand where we currently are, because to understand where Rangnick is potentially going to take us, we need to understand where we are at the moment. So for me, Kojo, that clip shows me that we are very safe as a football club. On the pitch, of course, off the pitch will be all night if you delve into what the off the pitch antics are. But on the pitch, we're just constantly going for the easy option. I just feel like players like Scott McTominay, he's not the only one, but there's a lot of other players as well that constantly have this thing of they're playing in fear. Do you think it's a confidence thing? Do you think it's a system thing? Prior to basically with Oli. What do you put that down to? That obviously that clip of McTominay is an isolated clip, but he's done it on many occasions. What would you put that down to?
It's a bit of both. Look, I think firstly, because people like McTominay as well. And I put McTominay in this list as well of your younger players that looked great, like your Angel Gomez or your Chongs and all these guys. Is when they are playing at these younger levels, obviously the exuberance is there. They want to go out there, they want to impress, they want to take on players, want to play forward passes and try and create stuff. When they come into the first team, that's why I say the manager has to take responsibility for what they do next with the team, because when you come into a team, the idea is, number one, your manager guides you. Number two, he tells you what sort of style they're looking to play. And 3, if you're lacking confidence, what does the manager, the club, the players around you, what do they do to help build that confidence? McTominay is a decent footballer, but he seems like someone who is overly cautious, because there was no reason why he shouldn't have made that pass forward to, I think he was it Bruno Fernandez?
It might have been Fred, actually.
Or it might have been Fred. One of those two was in space. You got to pass the ball forward because you're looking to create chances to score goals, regardless of your style of play, regardless of whether you're I'm not calling him young.
I was about to say, yeah, we didn't call him.
I'm saying like players that have come from the system in general. He's not part of that. I'm adding him to that list. He's not a young kid. I know that. But those kind of guys that you come in, and this is the main point. You gotta give them that freedom to go and play their football. I don't feel like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer gives them the freedom to play that football. I think his football is far too rigid, and I feel like that also adds to the lack of confidence that these guys have. We've seen McTominay make forward passes before. I'm not saying they're great because 8 times out of 10 they don't really reach their target. but it means that more time he has the ability to at least try and attempt those passes. In that situation against Chelsea, like I say, regardless of style of play, when you have the opportunity to pass the ball forward, the first thing you must do is pass the ball forward, because in a game of football, the main objective is to score goals and win the game. So, me personally, I don't know why he chose that option, but at the same time, it's just very, very safe, and it's very, very cautious, and he has to try and get that out of him, because with Rangnick, he doesn't like doing cautious football. He wants you to try and create chances at every turn. That's what he's looking for. So, I think he fits the pressing side. Whether he learns how to press correctly under Rangnick, I don't know. But passing like that, my goodness. And you got Carrick on the bench as well. Carrick was never making that kind of pass when he was playing. He was always looking forward and making brilliant passes to create to start attacks. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you made a lot of good points. Firstly, I just want to make it clear this isn't an attack on McTominay, because he isn't the only person that does it. Fred is definitely guilty of doing this as well, alongside other players within the team. I mean, Wan-Bissaka, the amount of occasions that he's gone for a safe option, but I suppose that might be a lack of ability on his part. I think for me personally, the question I'm intrigued to know, or the answer I'm looking for, is this something that can be coached out of the players? Like, for me, Rangnick has definitely got a lot on his hands in terms of really revolutionizing this team into a pressing team and really changing the ways. Basically, it seems like a lot of the bad habits are so far ingrained into some of the players that it's become like their muscle memories, their second nature. Like McTominay, even him passing it backwards there, it just seemed like there wasn't a thought process that he was always going to pass it backwards, because quite clearly, if you look at the clip back, there's a player. It's an easy pass actually to make that pass to Fred in that space. It's not a pass that is even high risk. Like, it's not, you're not threading a ball through the gap. You're basically playing a ball into space where your midfield is in a lot of space. So obviously, for me, it's almost like it's becoming second nature to play it safe and play it backwards and look for the easy option. Almost like how we did on the Van Gaal extent, where we would keep the ball for the sake of keeping the ball. And for me, going into this Rangnick tenure now, which is definitely what we're going to touch on shortly, how important is it to now start to look at the players? I mean, I know under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we kind of put all the brunt of the blame on Ole, and in my personal opinion, rightly so, in occasions. However, now does the ownership need to be on the players more in terms of, we've got a top quality coach there. Do the players now really need to show what they're about? Because players like McTominay are going to get left behind, as you rightly said, under a Rangnick system. He doesn't accept, that negative side of football. He doesn't like back passes. He doesn't even like a square pass. So is it now that we focus more on the players and what they got to offer? Are some of the players at Manchester United currently nowhere near as good as we make them out to be?
So another thing with United, and now this is where I do question the players, because I don't know whether it's we've had a lot of managers since Alex Ferguson left. We've had 4 full-term managers in David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, with Giggs and Carrick doing interim here and there. My issue is this. Under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, our football is very, very cautious. We know this. But it's not only the poor players that are making those square passes. And when I say poor players, I say lesser quality. Your Paul Pogba's, your Bruno Fernandez's, they make these square passes. And one thing I always used to shout, and Osman, you hear me out, is whether it was Cavani, actually no, not Cavani, because he always tries to make runs, but whether it was like Greenwood, Rashford, or Martial, whoever was playing up front for these guys during their tenures at the club, one thing I always complain about was they didn't make that run, the hunger to try and get into goal scoring positions. And if you've got someone like Paul Pogba, excuse me, who likes to create chances from every which angle, you got to make those runs. That's why once in a while when Rashford makes that run and Lindelof finds him, I'm over the moon, because I'm like, well, you should be making these runs. Why not? You can make runs from anywhere. Doesn't matter where the ball is. If you're making a run and the player that's got the ball has the ability to make the pass, make the run. You can create goals and chances from anywhere on a football pitch. That's number one. So then it's another thing of, is it the players or is it the manager? And I'm like, sometimes it could be the players, because I always go back to the quote I heard from, I think it was Lee Dixon, or maybe Nigel Winterburn, saying that sometimes on the football pitch, Vieira would hear something that Wenger would say and just be like, "Hey, listen, don't listen to that. We need to do this." And for me, that's the correct thing, because as much of a genius as he is as a manager, as he was, sorry, as a manager, you're on the pitch. You assess the situation better than any person on the touchline. So you should have the initiative to say, you know what, he's telling me to make the square pass, but Amad Diallo is making runs all the way through. Jadon Sancho is making runs all the way through. I should try and find him because we can create a chance. Usman, you see, remember how excited we got when Bruno Fernandez made that pass to not Jadon Sancho, I keep forgetting, Amad Diallo in the Europa League, and he scored that header in the first game. I'm like, look at the run he made. Why are we not making more of these runs? Bruno Fernandez found him out of nowhere.
So basically what you're saying is that kind of comes down to the football IQ of the players, you know? Because we have got a clip talking about Rashford very shortly, but I hear the point. I do think some of that does need to come from the manager, though. I know we've got to just get this comment on by Jerry because I have to. The players are here. Balance, people. Balance. Always said this. I mean, you have said that. We've got someone for folks that are United fans. Please feel free to elaborate on what you're on about. If you don't agree with anything, if you don't agree with anything that we are saying, then by all means, that's fine.
Oh no! See his next comment. He's trying to disrespect the manager already.
You guys actually think Rangnick will save you guys? I mean, we're going to explain to you in this video how Rangnick will save us. So if you want to stick around and educate yourself, by all means, feel free to be my guest. If not, by all means, you're more than welcome to have your opinion on that matter. It's football, mate. None of us are claiming to be experts. We're just here talking about the team and trying to give a more balanced opinion and a more tactical opinion on the matter. But anyways, coming back to Jerry's comment. I thought someone else then. Coming back to Jerry's comment. I think the reason I say it's a bit it's the coaching aspect is because I feel like when a player first comes into a team and he's a young lad, they kind of feel us that they don't have that aspect of coaching in them, if that makes sense. Like in terms of a lot of the things that you see in the modern day, like when they're 21, 22, when they're first 18, they have a different vim about them. The players, the pressure is not on their back. You know, they haven't been coached out of certain things. And I feel like that's something that has happened under Ollie in his tenure. Some of the players that we've got, some of the things have been coached out of them. For example, Mason Greenwood, when he first burst onto the scene, that guy didn't give a shit. Like, do you know what I mean? I feel like he was ruthless in the manner in which he was playing his football. Granted, he still takes a lot of shots, but they tried to hone in and try to basically shape him into a player that they deem is best suited to their style of play, if that makes sense. And again, I don't want to put this all on the manager and the coaches because, of course, the players have to be culpable. People like Wan-Bissaka, as an example, I've defended to no end, but there's literally no defending some of the shit that he's been doing the last couple of weeks. That is on the player. That is not on the coaching. Maguire pulling down Luke Shaw, that is not the coaching. Like, Maguire's done it 3 times. Like, he's pulled Shaw down and they've scored from it. So some things you do need to look at. One thing I will say to you, in terms of coaching, obviously give the Ahmad example. What's the one thing you want to see? Because we are going to go into a bit later on anyways, but just briefly, what's the one thing you want to see change the most under this next tenure? What do you reckon?
I want to see I want to use a word that United fans like to use a lot: adventure. I want to see adventure. I want to see. Look, I want more freedom on the football pitch, and what I mean by that is freedom in terms of creativity. Don't be scared to try things. You can't be scared to try things. I've always said, from a managerial aspect, if you are the manager that makes 3 changes starting from like the 55th minute, trying to change things, they're not like for like, and it doesn't work out, I can forgive that because you try to make things happen. You thought, you know what, this isn't working, I'll try something else. If it doesn't work, I can forgive that because you're trying something different. With the players, I want the same thing. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a lot more commitment in their play. I'm looking for more bravery. I'm looking for more aggressiveness. That's my main bag for this team of players. But more than anything, this is going to expose the bums, and I use that word very, very strongly. Bums, not squeaky bum time. Bums, get the bums out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to add onto that comment, I think this is the one thing that I've said consistently. under a proper coach, a proper system, and a proper identity, you're gonna weed out the weak links in the squad. I mean, the one thing that is very important in a team is to be cohesively working together. You have to become a machine, basically, and that's something that can't happen if one component of that machine is not pulling their weight. So, if you want to talk about the pressing aspect of it, be it the defensive, off the ball stuff, or the quality. There's a lot of different facets to football, and a lot of people tend to be focused on the pressing thing, or X, Y, and Z can't press because they don't have it in their DNA or whatever. These things can definitely be taught, and if they're not implementing them on the pitch, then like Semp said earlier, that player will be hooked off basically if they're not following the manager's instructions. Just want to get a couple of comments in just before we get the next bit. So we have got this comment here from Semp, kind of just elaborating what I said. The way the top teams play is based on coaching and instruction. If they try to do their own thing and it goes wrong, top coaches will hook them. I think that's definitely a fair point. It's not about saving. Yeah, go on, sorry. Oh,
no, so that is a fair point, yeah.
Yeah, this is obviously replying earlier. It's not about saving United. It's about elevating the players with something Oli could not do.
Can I say to what Seb said? I think as United fans, and doesn't mean you can tell me if you agree with this or not. I think we'd be a lot more forgiving to some of these players if they tried to create something, if they tried to do something where we saw that there was an intention to make something happen, and then they got hooked off rather than they just do the same nonsense and they get hooked off because they're just not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, look, I hear that. I think in terms of obviously a player being hooked off, it just depends on the coach. And obviously, Sam's kind of funny enough referred to them being top coaches. Obviously, Ali never hooked anyone off that deserved to be hooked off, sadly. But I just want to get this little clip on from the homie Ty and Haj, I believe, is speaking in this clip. We're only going to play the first minute. So, of course, we're not going to play it all. And this is just on Rashford, basically. So, the reason I'm playing this clip, because it kind of leads on nicely to the next topic, which will be which players will benefit the most. So, I just want to play the Rashford clip and obviously have a little chat about the clip. And then, obviously, we'll go on to who we think will be most benefit and why.
Okay.
I'm all for Rashford getting sold.
Oh, getting sold?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Whoa. I'm with it. If Rashford
you know what Rashford reminds me?
You're happy to see Rashford get sold, so am I.
Yeah. Rashford reminds me of Kylian Mbappe at PSG, where it's like you have the ego of a 35-year-old that's won flipping 5-6 Ballon d'Ors, and you feel like you shouldn't do A, B, C, and D. Rashford doesn't press. Similar to Mark says, he just walks around. Right? Even this whole myth that Rashford is a good dribbler, I don't really think Rashford is a good dribbler. Rashford will run at you, flicks and tricks, step overs, and then run into you. I'm not going to say you're a good dribbler just because you've done 2-3 step overs before running into a wall. It don't work like that. Like, I don't really see him successfully beating a man besides taking the ball and just kicking it into space and running after it, where he utilizes his pace. In terms of actually standing up a defender and taking him on, he's not the best. I feel like there was one period yesterday where it was like we had like a small counter.
Oh yeah, I know
the ball on the left hand side.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Bruh.
And
what left foot? He just smashed the cross goal.
Right, I was gonna think he stopped the clip there because obviously that was basically what I was looking for. First, you shout out to Trafford Tunnel. Obviously, as you can see from the clip itself, it's quite basically label is from them. So obviously, make sure you support them as well. Good friend of ours. Myself and Kojo's. Oh, he's in the chat actually. What the hell? Perfect. What perfect timing. Oh my god, big up the man there just logged in now. That was so perfect. It's almost like we planned it. Thank you, Ty, for allowing us to use your clip first and foremost, my guy. So the reason I played the clip, like I said, I kind of want to focus on the players that will benefit under a Rangnick system. Of course, Haj very vocally said he wants Rashford to leave. So, Kojo, just before I get your thoughts on, I just want to throw this out there. So the reason I do not want Rashford to leave, there's many different facets to it. Some of what he said is factual. Well, not factual, of course, it's opinion based, but I do agree with some of the stuff that he said regarding some of Rashford's flaws. But for me personally, the reason I'm not being overly critical on the likes of Rashford the likes of Greenwood in particular, and you maybe could throw Marcel in there as well to an extent, is most of their education has been via Man United coaches. So what I mean by that is their experience of growing up as a footballer and learning their trade has been under Jose Mourinho and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Two coaches for me that are not, I mean, Ole doesn't have any credentials in that sense, but are not notoriously known for elevating a youngster's game. In this case, Rashford. So people will say Rashford's not young. Yeah, but when he first broke onto the scene, he was only 18. And since his sort of involvement as a footballer, he's been under Jose Mourinho and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. In an ideal scenario, if that was Pep Guardiola and Rashford was still doing the same mistakes that he's doing today, i.e. his football IQ is poor, he's making wrong decisions, running into players, etc., then I think we'd have a different conversation, because Pep Guardiola has got a track record of elevating youngsters' game, as he's done with Raheem Sterling. You can go back to when Raheem was at Liverpool and where he took Raheem Sterling. I think that would be a different conversation. But the reason I give Rashford the benefit of the doubt is because I don't think he's actually had a proper coach to really elevate his game. And I think education is so important, and it gets massively overlooked in the game. And I'm not making excuses for Rashford, because I do agree with the criticism. But under a proper coach in Rangnick, who has got a track record of improving players, and hopefully a Ten Hag comes in somehow, we can't obviously say, I'm expecting a different animal Rashford, because he's got the numbers without the IQ. For me, you can teach IQ. And I know people want to agree with that. You either got it or you haven't. Of course, killer instinct and those things, you can't really teach that stuff. But other IQ, i.e. positional sense, i.e. running if you had, when to run, when to hold your run, that comes with maturity. And Rashford's still only young. So, Kojo, that's my stand on it. What are your thoughts on the matter?
Sorry. Firstly, I'll say usually I do actually agree with what Hadj says when I watch Trafford Tunnel. But this one, I was like, nah, brother, what are you doing? With Rashford, I think, firstly, people forget what he's capable of at full fitness. Now, Ty made a fair point to me, you, some of us in the group chat and on the timeline as well, where they said Martial was out for a while, but I think, since like March, and he came back this season. So it wouldn't be fair to expect him to hit the ground running straight away, because football doesn't work like that. With Rashford, he came back, he scored 2 goals in 2 games. Didn't have the best performances, don't get me wrong. There was no stellar performances. Shout out that's from Eyes on the Ball TV.
Yes.
Shout out Jerry as well. Shout out Semps and when everybody
shout
else.
Shout all the man them, man. I appreciate
all the man them. But he's fallen off a little bit, and I agree he's not been playing well. But this is what it is for me. We've forgotten what the boy is capable of. He was killing players. He would beat players for fun. He hit special free kicks. He was being able to create here and there. Him and Martial rather, when we came back from lockdown, and even during that whole season as well, actually, when they were fantastic together. And then he played a whole year with injuries and still scored a lot of goals. So even though he didn't play well, and you can see a lot more hesitancy in his football, he was still producing. So I've always said with Rashford, when Rashford gets back to 100% full fitness, number one, and then number two, match sharpness, that's when I'm going to really judge him. When I see that everything is there and you need to keep going now, that's when I'm going to give him the judgment. I'm not going to be, and by the way, I'm not sending him. I'm not sending him for anything. Unless he's giving us what I'll say, I'm going to be very tested with this. 150 million plus for Marcus Rashford. I'm not sending that guy. I'm sorry. I'm just going to do it. English tax, homegrown, all of that.
They said 100 million, which surprised me a lot. I'm not going to lie. That's really cheap.
They're saying 100 million. But, bro, the thing is...
That's cheap, man, in my personal opinion.
That's number one, is cheap. And number two, who are they replacing with? And the reason I asked that question is because as United fans and as football fans in general, actually, we fit other players that we would like to sign into our team based on how we want them to play. My thing is, the way Rangnick's football is, he wants quick players. He wants explosive players. He wants players that can make runs at crucial moments and at the right moments. Rashford does that. Can his pressing improve? Absolutely. But we haven't pressed well since 2013, and he hasn't been part of the squad since 2013. He came on a Louis van Gaal. So it's not just been a Marcus Rashford problem. It's been a Man United problem. So we need to think about, number one, the football that Rangnick plays. Number two, the players that fit that system ideally. If they don't bang in it, that's another situation. But ideally, with the quality of the players that we have and the qualities that they possess, how do they fit into the team? And he fits into that team perfectly for me so far. If he doesn't perform, like I said earlier, he's either you step up or you step aside, or you're a bum.
I feel like that's the best segue you might have ever given me to really get the tag team board out. But before, in fact, no, I'll get it on now. Just before I do, I just want to get some comments in. I just want to say thank you for everyone's commenting. Keep getting your thoughts in. We've got a comment here saying he's better than Greenish. I mean, that's without a doubt. One thing I will say about Rashford is, considering he hasn't really delivered in terms of performance, his numbers are an absolute joke. I'm just waiting for it to all click for him in a sense. Like I said earlier, when he gets that proper education and he really has a coach behind him that is able to elevate his game. Like I said, for example, if Sir Alex Ferguson was here for 5 years, this wouldn't be the same Rashford. I think he'd be completely leaps and bounds.
Monster player.
And it goes without saying, doesn't it? If Pep Guardiola was Rashford's manager, I think this conversation wouldn't be happening. I do understand where people are coming from, however. But let's get the share screen. Keep obviously slapping a like, get your questions in, all that good stuff. Kojo, if you got yours available, do you want me to go first?
It's up to you, man. You can go first if you want to. I've got some.
Let's get yours first, and then obviously, so basically the next segment of the show, Darren basically echoed what I said. Exactly, my guy. Look what happened to Raheem. So the next segment of the show is we're going to explain how Rangnick utilized his tactic, etc. at other clubs, and then we're going to talk about how that is implemented to Man United, which players is going to benefit, which players may suffer from the new style of play. I'm sure some of you can think of a couple of names, Maguire and Wan-Bissaka, just to name a few. Keep getting your questions in, get your comments in. Obviously, we want the show to be as interactive as possible. This is the second show we're doing similar to this. So, of course, if you are enjoying this kind of content, please slap a like on the video and we'll make a more regular thing. Obviously, if you slap a like, we know that you guys are enjoying it. So, Kojo, I'm going to pass it over to you. So, Kojo's going to share a screen now. Obviously, we'll talk through what I go on, and then obviously we'll give the main app perspective as well.
Yeah, you know, as we say that, my thing is now starting to do banter, but we'll see if I can get this running. Hold on 1 second.
Well, if it isn't, I'll get mine if it's not.
Yeah, because this week's being stupid now. I've got it all up here and then it's not telling me there's nothing to show here. I have the documents, fam. This computer's buffering me. But anyway.
Do you want me to?
Okay, here we go. Right. Okay. No, I think we can run this now. Yeah, I think
we come prepared, don't worry, people. We got backup.
Yeah. Don't worry about that, man. Don't worry about that.
It's so good. It's so good. I thought my
okay. All right. Now, are you gonna be? There we go. Beautiful. Okay. Can you see that on your screen?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, beautiful, Kojo.
Okay.
Keep
Okay.
getting questions in, all that good stuff. If you're not sure about anything, if nothing makes sense to you, we'll try our best to explain it as much as we can.
All right. So basically, what I've done is I think United fans have been talking about the fact that he likes to play if you want to call it a 4-4-2 or 4-2-2-2, if you want to go by that as well. So firstly, I'm talking about over here what he does firstly in terms of pressuring the team forward and all that. And what you're going to actually see is a very common theme in position and out position with the players out wide. So firstly, going forward, what he likes his fullbacks to do is bomb forward, just like anyone else in football these days. So you can see your left back and your right back in a much more advanced position, similar to what Liverpool do, similar to what
Chelsea, really.
Chelsea, even Man City to an extent as well, because you'll see Cancelo, you'll see Zinchenko, you'll see Kyle Walker doing this kind of thing as well for Man City. And essentially what it is once these guys go forward, your wingers start to come in. Again, like similar clubs. You want to see Salah so far out wide. You want to see Mane literally by the byline, unless they're creating something and they're trying to shift it off to the other side for maybe Salah to come inside or Trent or whoever. So this is how they like to approach. This is how he likes to approach. Very high, 2 centre backs, but 2 centre midfielders. And what I like about the 2 centre midfielders is they're there as extra protection because you've got 6 players ahead of these guys, and you've got the other 4 behind. So just in case of a counter attack, you've got that extra cover. Someone that's just there to say, okay, I'm there to cover this situation on the left side, on the right side, and one of them take responsibility in the middle. Very key. I like my centre midfielders personally covering the fullbacks at times when necessary. Sort of how Jordan Henderson is supposed to do for Trent Alexander-Arnold at times for Liverpool. So that's the first example. And I think what's so key about this is someone like Jadon Sancho coming off that right side, he lacks space. He knows how to find space, more importantly, as well. And I think what's so good about the forwards is whether you're Greenwood, Ronaldo or Cavani, because Cavani's movement is going to live a dream in Rangnick's football. You got players like Sancho who can create. Rashford can create at times. I'm not going to say he's a creative footballer, but he can create. Martial is another one that has a creative bone in his ability here and there. But more importantly, I think this is where, and your brother's in this, he's going to hate when I say this, Wan-Bissaka might be the one to falter here because he's not good going forward yet. Unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because I don't think he's United standard, but the only other option at right back is Diogo Dalot. And he's only one he's the only one at right back right now that can actually...
What are your thoughts on the Lamptey rumor? I don't know if you've seen it or not.
I saw that. Lamptey...
Do you think he'd fit the system at all? Is that someone that might actually be looking at?
Lamptey would fit the system. He's quick. He's quick in terms of like speed, in terms of agility. So if we're to lose possession, I'm sure Rangnick will want someone that can recover very quickly, and he's someone that can do that. He's quite good with stamina as well. Actually, he knows how to actually go up and down.
Got a question from Darren as well regarding the right backs.
I don't know. I don't know about Led. I mean, I like him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm not doubting him. I just don't know if he's going to be part of the plans next season. But there you go. But yeah, so Lamptey is a good player, but as Darren literally said, injuries is an issue, and I'm tired of signing injury-prone players. So, yeah, that's the first one. I've got more than one. Don't worry about that. Got more than one. So if I can open up the other one, that would be beautiful.
Just whilst he's getting another one up, just want to obviously read some of the comments out. I'll take Lamptey all day. Just the injuries is a concern for me, absolutely. Varner saying you time me out because you don't agree with my opinion. I didn't time you out. I don't know if one of the mods has timed you out. The mods has timed you out. You don't need to time him out. He's entitled to his opinion. I don't care if you don't agree with us. Like I said, our opinions are not gospel. We're just two football fans trying to give you a more tactical perspective. If you don't appreciate that, that's completely fine. That is not an issue. Kwesi in the chat as well saying, big up, guys. Thank you, bro, for coming through. I appreciate all the support. Keep slapping the like, people. Obviously, but Kojo, yeah, just before you get the other one up. So obviously, I've got a similar graphic which we'll be able to play around with. The one thing I noticed, obviously you can get the next thing up. That's not probably the one thing I noticed the most was how high the players are, the starting positions basically. So of course, if an opposition team gets the ball, how important is it, as Darren has said in the chat, is that the centre backs have got pace? Is Bailly and Varane the best option under this basically under this system?
Yeah, no, I think with the Bundesliga now, this is where the big difference is. With the Bundesliga, everyone plays a high line there. Literally everybody. That's just the be-all and end-all of apart from Bayern Munich, because Bayern Munich are the only team that play there with common sense. So I think when it comes to the Highland there's a lot more freedom, but you need a quicker player there because they got a lot of fast forwards in that league. Now with the Premier League, the styles are very different for different clubs. Burnley don't play the same way as West Ham. West Ham don't play the same way as Wolves. Wolves don't play the same way as Man United, so on and so forth. It'll be very interesting to see with the high line and his selection of centre backs who he picks, because Varane is a shoo-in. I'm sorry, that's not really a discussion. But now the partner is the problem. I've said it. Lindelof reads the game well, but he's not fast, and he's also quite weak in the air and shoulder to shoulder. That's the first issue. Eric Bailly actually has the speed, he has the strength, he's a tough tackler, but he's not reliable in terms of fitness, so you don't know if you can rely upon him. And then thirdly, last but definitely least, El Capitan. Quite frankly, I'm scared to see him in this system because I don't know if I can trust him to even read the game properly, let alone forget talking about recovery. So that's an issue. But ideally for me, I've said to you before, my ideal centre-back pairing would be Varane and Lindelof, because Lindelof more time knows how to at least move your attacking forwards away from the goal. And then that'll be key for if Lamptey was to come, for example, or even Wan-Bissaka, who's quick as well. Your Wan-Bissakas, your Tellers, or your Luke Shaws to make that run back in time to help out. And you've got your two centre midfielders as well. So Fred is relatively quick. I'll say Fred because I know Fred's going to play. And the other one being, who could it be? Donny, Scott, Pogba, Matic, I mean, just gonna say this right now. If he plays Matic and Maguire in the same team
Yeah,
with this
but
high
it's
line,
finished. Yeah.
game, set, match. And
That's
no,
not
I will
gonna
not
work.
bring back Transabia. We need to get rid of this guy. He's not going to make a cut at Man United.
Really? Would you get rid of Tuanzebe?
He's not going to make the cut, man. I'm sorry. I don't believe it.
I mean, I've still got a bit of hope on Tuanzebe, I'm not going to lie. After that PSG game, man, he just showed me stuff that I've not seen in a while. And I just felt like with proper coach, you might be able to turn it around. But obviously, fair enough, you're entitled to your opinion on that matter. But just coming back to the centre-back partnership itself, for me, I completely agree in terms of Varane. I think that goes without saying. In terms of the second option, I personally would say Bailly, but the only issue with Bailly is he can't stay fit. I know a lot of people have qualms regarding him. He's very reckless, and he has that tendency of making a mistake. But for me personally, I think he would just be the best fit for this system. If you're playing that high up the pitch, the recovery pace is key. Ability to defend one-on-one is basically our paramount importance. Is the most important thing. Players like Sergio Ramos built their careers on one-on-one defending because they were so heavily exposed in terms of overloads on the opposite side, i.e. Real Madrid were coming in bodies forward. Players like Ramos in particular, the reason why he's so well renowned as a world beater is because of his ability to defend 1v1. Unless it's Iron Robin, but you can't blame him for that one. But like for me, Maguire 1v1 is not good enough. It's as simple as that. He's going to get exposed left, right, and centre. In this system, he will get exposed. So for me, I just feel like this should be the demise of Maguire in terms of he shouldn't be playing week in, week out. If we are going to play disadvantages going forward, potentially against a team where we control the ball, the likes of Watford's not the greatest examples. Given the fact they just slapped us 4-1, but generically, the Watfords, the Palaces, teams in the lower half of the table, where I might not expect to control the ball under Ralph Rangnick team, maybe Maguire can get away with it. Even then, he probably can't get exposed. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting combo. But Kojo, if you want to get the next graphic up, and then obviously I'll get mine up, and then we can just play around with some of the players, and obviously have a little chit chat.
Sorry, let me get up again because it's done nothing to show here thing again. So
that's completely
fine. I think literally as soon as I load it up, I have to just throw it on, otherwise it just goes off. So
that's fine. Whilst I do that, I'll just go through some of the comments, and not an issue. Keep getting comments and questions up. Obviously, while we're setting it up, it looks like it's up, and it's rather Wamsaka be used against the dynamic wingers in a back three. To be honest, just not good enough with the build up. I completely agree with that point. Darren, as always, on point. But yeah, Kojo, back to you, my guy.
You guys are gonna have to ignore the stupid thing up there up top. But anyway, now this is more to do with press. Now, when we have the ball with the centre backs again, what he wants to do is have players in areas where your centre backs, your full backs, the opposition full backs that is anyway, are occupied with one or more player. So firstly, you see the ball's on the right side, and you see there's a bit of an overload there with your right winger, another centre midfielder. Notice that as well. And then you'll be your full back and then a central midfielder. So like I said earlier, if you want to use the example of Liverpool, you have Henderson tends to cover, or Milner or whoever tends to cover Trent Alexander-Arnold as he goes forward and does his thing. Now, the most important thing about this is because he's there as an extra cover, but he's also there as an extra player. So there's another player that can create from something as well. So there's an overload on that right side for a reason. Because naturally, when the ball is on one side, the opposition, what do? They also shift over to the other side as well. So then it allows your other striker, your two strikers, in fact, actually your left winger who's now inside, and of course your left back as well, who is either going to do one or two things. Either going to cut inside and try and be a threat, maybe on the edge of the box or actually in the box. Or number two is just going to be that sort of recovery player where he either recycles possession because the ball's been crossed over the top and he's to get that ball for the team, or he's there to make that run back as well and support his centre backs. So you see the two arrows coming out of the opposition player. That's essentially saying, look, I've got two men here who's going to cover me. And the best thing about this kind of thing is it's going to be one of three things here. So either the red man next to in between the right winger and the central midfielder on the right side, he's now going to think, okay, do I now cover one or two? Where do I go? Then the other man's going to be thinking, where do I go as well? And the idea is you want to bamboozle your opposition to the point where they don't know who to mark, and it always allows one player to find that moment of freedom, and that's where you get the kill. And that's where we have to use our quality, because we've got a lot of players that have quality to make the kill, to be killers. Your Rashfords, your Martials, your Ronaldos, your Bruno Fernandezes, and so on. You get these guys in optimum positions to create damage, they're going to be sweating a lot more. If you can take advantage of that right side and make the defender lose one of them so easily, another defender, one of the two centre backs, is now going to have to make a move, make a decision to now follow.
So which player obviously is, you've demonstrated?
So I'm going to say, let me do this. Can you see my mouse?
Oh yeah, I can see it. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, beautiful. So, all right. So if this guy here, very, very key. So now if the ball's in position over here, he's going to have to think, now I've got two players here. What I'm saying is this guy's going to have to make a decision also. Do I A, go here, B, go here, or C, go here? That's where you have to take advantage of that. Football's a split-second game. You can win and you can create a chance within a second and lose your player within a second. This guy is very, very key here. So if he was to go here, right winger goes forward, you can maybe, if you've got the ability to make the pass, go through there.
Well, Lindelof would be perfect as you selected for this ball, wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And if he goes here, hopefully, and this is why I question Wan-Bissaka, because Wan-Bissaka has not proven so far to have the creative ability on that right side to make something happen. If he is good enough or he improves, he can be the player to go over here and say, all right, cool, let me now make this run. I am marked. Who can I find here? And then this is the big job here. This guy here will be sweating, which will lead this guy to sweat, because naturally, if one of these guys go in and this guy doesn't follow, he's going to come. He's going to be hoping that this guy tracks back. This doesn't tend to happen a lot. So if he goes, you've got one here, and then this leaves him by himself. Will he cut in? Who knows? But this is the kind of thing you need to take chances with. You're not going to face teams that are so strong defensively, because there are not many teams in football that are strong defensively anymore. And that's why these kind of systems thrive these days. So I just think that's why it's very important that you choose your centre-backs carefully, because they play a big, big role in going forward. And then your fullbacks are just as important as well. So that's why I would pick a Telles over a Shaw, because not that Telles is a lot more better than Luke Shaw, but he possesses a lot more passing quality than Luke Shaw. And that's where it's very, very important. If you want someone to whip a ball in, someone's even strike a ball, because the guy can hit volleys, can hit set pieces. So obviously on the ball as well, he's shown that he's very he's got a lot of quality. So yeah, that's how I would demonstrate this style of football that he may implement. I don't know. He prefers 4-3-3, by the way, guys. I'm just showing you a 4-2-2-2.
Yeah, we kind of focusing on the 4-2-2-2. Obviously, in the coming weeks, like I said, we're going to try and make this into a regular thing. Obviously, myself and Kojo, we love the tactical aspect of football, so we kind of want to basically go down that route. Obviously, if you're enjoying this, just continue to let us know. We can look at other formations as well if you wish us to do so. But basically, what you said there, obviously, the quite clear overload on the right wing. I'm just going to get my graphic up now because I can actually play around with it. Fantastic, obviously, first and foremost, but it's quite clear from the graphic that you showed the overload on the left wing or our right wing. I think for me personally, one thing I will just add to what you just said there. So with this graphic here, it's very similar to what Kojo just demonstrated, but we can't actually move the pieces around. So let's just come back to what you were saying. So obviously, let's just say Lindelof's got the ball. Just to make it very clear, the numbers do not correspond with the players that wear those shirt numbers on the pitch. You only get an option of 1 to 11. And so obviously, you were kind of alluding to this sort of false position here, where the left back in the opposition team has a scenario when they've got to pick up two players. So in a Man United shirt, players that will benefit, obviously, which is one of the topics, is Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford for me in particular, because they're going to be the players benefiting from the overload a lot of the times. As Kojo quite rightly demonstrated, I was about calling Van Gaal then. Rangnick really likes when the fullbacks push up. So as we can see, we've got the 2 and 2. So we've got 4-3, 6-8. So let's see if I can do this graphic here. Give me a second. Just to hopefully illustrate a bit better. So we'll just make a little rectangle there. So these 4 players here in this rectangle here, Kojo. So basically, that's basically our defensive unit, isn't it? Everybody else is pretty much committed to the attack. In terms of the players, obviously this formation is not completely accurate. Some players will drop into the hole here potentially, which is where Bruno Fernandez might obviously wander in. What players do you think? I kind of mentioned Rashford and Sancho already, but why do you think Rashford and Sancho are the two players, or if there's anyone else that you would put in there, who do you think is going to really capitalize? So obviously the people in the box are the defenders. Just illustrate that for you lovely people watching at home. Who do you think is going to really sort of benefit from this attacking approach, should we say?
You're asking me for midfield players or for forward players?
We'll focus on the attackers. Obviously, these number 5 and number 2 are the fullbacks at the moment. Obviously,
Yeah.
I can move them up anywhere you want. So we've got 7 here. Just to illustrate to the people watching at home is Marcus Rashford, not Cristiano Ronaldo. Number 9 is Ronaldo. And number 10 is Bruno. And number 11 is Sancho. Obviously, Kojo can swap them out for whoever he wants. If it's worth, I'll just put a text underneath while he's speaking, just so everyone knows at home. So just put his name there. But yeah, Kojo, who do you think is going to really thrive under this in particular?
All right, so the forward 4. I'll probably won't restrict it to 4 players, but I'll just say names. Number 1, definitely Jadon Sancho, absolutely. Number 2 will be Edinson Cavani, absolutely.
Okay.
This is not in order, by the way. Number 3 would be Ronaldo, because I don't think it's about pressing all the time. It's about pressing at the right time. And if I can say this, I feel like watching his teams of the past, Rangnick strikers don't really press too much. If people think I'm wrong, please tell me. Bruno Fernandez is another one that can absolutely thrive in this, because to be fair to the guy, he has got good movement. Judging how he likes to get into a number 9 position quite a lot, he has got good movement and he presses quite well as well. He's not afraid to chase. He's got the energy. He's got the aggressiveness in his play to want the ball from the defenders. Yeah. Number 4 would be Rashford. I say that because I think if we win the ball up early, someone with his speed and his directness as well is so key. He likes to get into those positions to try and make something happen. So that'd be number 1. Number 5. And you know what? I would add Martial to this. And the reason why I'm sounding a bit 50-50 by it, but I'll say it's 50-50 because I'm hoping that with Rangnick encourages him to use his physical abilities a lot more than just the hold-up play. Because in this sort of style, we're not looking for hold-up. We're looking for quick 1-2s, but we're also looking for someone to use their speed and be a bit more direct in getting in there. So those are the main players. Man said pretty much all of them. It is pretty much all of them, but there's also a lot of guys that we do have that we will not use. So I'm not going to mention those guys, like your Juan Matas. And I would like to see Diallo, but I don't think Diallo's going to get some game time. I think he's going to get loaned out. So, yeah, those are the main guys anyway. I didn't even mention Greenwood.
I know you didn't. A lot of people said that. Shout out to TV.
I'm still thinking about Greenwood. I'm not 100% sure yet because I haven't seen him in the first team, and it might not even be his fault, to be honest. I'm not trying to blame him for it, but I haven't really seen him in like a pressing sort of situation. And he hasn't been a striker enough times for us. I believe him as a striker. I believe he's absolutely a striker, but because he's played on the right so much, I don't know if he still has that instinct of a striker. He likes to get goals. He wants to score goals, but as a number 9, has he got that instinct to now make the move and get in that goal scoring position? I'm not sure. I want to see it. I don't know if he's lost it or if he's in the situation of having to get it back.
I think he'll be all right, to be honest, because I think, like you said, at the start, he's a bit of a young lad. You kind of alluded to a lot of the players that would benefit, so I kind of want to look at certain individual things that I want to be changed, basically. Firstly, Bruno Fernandez. I've made it be known in the last couple of weeks that Bruno is pissing me off. I'm going to put it bluntly. Main reason being is his lack of discipline. So as we can see in this scenario, as I've quite clearly demonstrated, this is Manchester United on the ball under a Rangnick system. Of course, this is not how we'd be lined up off the ball because, we're basically exposed, aren't we? First things first, Bruno Fernandez needs to hover in this area here. So where you can see the cursor here, number 10, stay in the dimensions of this vicinity. For me, I don't know what you think, Kojo. He seems to play with too much of a free role, which is really starting to frustrate me. And one thing I will say is with this system, what Rangnick is going to deploy, Bruno Fernandez is very indispensable. And what I mean is, he's quite easily able to. We could quite easily replace him basically in this position. So, for example, you could take Bruno out of here, and you could quite easily put a Cavani in there. Obviously, Cavani playing alongside Ronaldo will benefit. Ronaldo, not only has he got a partner with him, but he's also got someone who's got the ability to run it behind, and of course that will benefit Ronaldo, give him more space, etc., etc. The one thing I want to see more of, Kojo, I don't know what your thoughts on this is. Like, so obviously we spoke about the ball, you know, the wing back being pushed up. So I say wing back, the full back being pushed up into this scenario. So we're the number 2 in the opposition team as a 2v1. I want to see more bodies being put into the attack. This is the one thing I see a lot of. So we just move Bruno there. But one thing we seem to see a lot of is just the one player in the box. So let's say Wan-Bissaka's got the ball. The one thing we're definitely going to see more of under a Rangnick team is overloads in the box. So we're going to see a Marcus Rashford during the attack. We're gonna see hopefully a Bruno Fernandez during the attack, and that's something for me that definitely needs to improve as well. But in terms of the overall football, Kojo, like, what do you think needs to improve the most? I'm just going to delete some of these names because obviously they're getting moved about everywhere. What do you think needs to be improved the most with this system in terms of the individual players, the player style, etc.? What do you think they need to do to really get the best out of the system under Rangnick?
I think they need to show a bit more discipline because, and I'll point this out on the Carrick's game against Villarreal, there's a lot more discipline. As in, players applied themselves correctly in the right times. I was noticing Fred was pressing a lot more effectively, as I said earlier today. McTominay wasn't good, but he was a lot more focused and staying in the middle of the pitch as a number 6 rather than drifting off to the wing for no reason, which he does quite a lot in normal situations. So I'm looking for one, discipline. And then number 2, I'm looking for forward thinking. And that's because you've got, in this system, you have 4 or 5 players that are forward. So your job as a centre midfielder, or even 6 rather, so your job as one of the 2 centre midfielders is to get the ball to those guys and then for them to create damage. This is not going to be the time for McTominay or Fred, Pogba, Bruno, Donny, whoever you want to pick out of that midfield. It's not going to be the time for them to make sideway passes unless the option is to find your winger who's ready to whip a ball in or do a 1-2 down that side and overlap. So that's what I'm looking for, because Rangnick is a very serious coach, and this is not the first time. Bear in mind, it's not the first time that he's managed a club and then gone to the board level, because he's done it at Leipzig. Obviously, he went 3 other places, I think, before coming back to Leipzig. But it was manager, left, and then became within maybe like a director of football sort of thing. So he knows what he looks for. And then number 2, what he's going to do with the consultancy is he's going to tell them United essentially what kind of players we're looking for. So if these guys want to survive, they need to bring those 2 things to the table.
Yeah, no, I completely. I mean, in terms of what you said there, I completely agree with you. I just want to add that in terms of what I'm looking for from my perspective. Obviously, as you guys can see, we are focusing on the 4-2-2-2 today. Like I've already said earlier, if you want us to focus on the formation, we're happy to break down that formation for you as well. If you're new, please subscribe to the channel. We're going to try and make this more regular. And of course, we will focus on the opposition as well. And then when we're playing someone, when Rangnick eventually is in the dugout, we will look at how Rangnick will exploit the weaknesses of the opposition, etc., etc. For me, Kojo, the most important thing, as you kind of alluded to there, was the transition of the ball. That's one thing. Obviously, you can see the ball here. The mouse is not doing its job again. But as you can see, the transition of the ball, there are opportunities to play the ball through the lines. As you can see, 8-9. Of course, the opposition will try and close those lines. But a lot of the times, as we saw from the clip with Scott McTominay, the football is either sideways or McTominay playing the ball down to Wan-Bissaka or even a save pass down to Sancho. How important is it for you, as the midfielders in particular, who are playing for Manchester United, that there start to be more risk-taking? And I want to say that with the understanding that Bruno Fernandez gets a lot of criticism for overly risk-taking. When I say risk-taking, I'm saying in the sense of this pass here, for example, from 8-9, potentially even switch the play over to number 5 from obviously 8-5. I know Pogba's capable of doing those things, but how important is it for you to actually get players in there, the likes of the Donny, the likes of the Pogba, who are actually in there trying to move the ball forward, trying to advance the play? Because let's be real, you can have all the overloads you want, But if you don't move the ball with any intention or intensity through transitions, the overloads are going to be irrelevant because the opposition will obviously snuff out the danger, so to speak. They'll be able to reassess. So how important do you think it is that we actually move the ball with purpose? Because under Van Gaal, we didn't do that, but Rangnick, I'm hoping that is going to be a difference.
It's extremely important. Getting in between the lines or asking midfielders to be a lot more braver with the ball. It's not a new thing. I remember Science Ferguson used to say that he wants his players to be brave on the ball, and what that means essentially is, look, if you see there's a chance to create something from midfield, do it. If you think it's better to pass the ball into feet, but you feel like you're in doubt of making that pass, you need to try and make that pass. Go for it. I'm a lot more forgiving if you attempt the pass and it fails, rather than playing it way too safe and not being able to create something. Patrice Evra, even at left back, was saying that he passed the ball back to a centre back and Science Ferguson told him, if you do that again, I'm taking you off. It's bravery. That's as simple as it gets. I'll use the example of Carrick. Usman, remember the game when I think Hernandez might have scored a hat-trick that day? I can't remember. We beat Newcastle 4-3 at Old Trafford. We won it last minute, and Carrick had the ball near the halfway line, and you played this like ridiculous through cross pass, I don't know, through ball cross pass through the air, straight down the middle of the pitch, and then went Hernandez, who just headed it into the bottom corner past Newcastle, won the game 4-3. I don't know if you guys remember that game, but that's the kind of thing we're looking for. It's 90th minute. We've got maybe like 1 minute of added time.
One of these ones, Kojo, yeah?
Yeah, like he was there, and he literally, where the number 9 is, just played a lovely pass. Wham!
Just
diving head up.
Look
bang.
at that recreation, and there you go into the back of the net.
If you don't remember that goal,
I don't want it.
Yep. If you don't remember that goal, go to YouTube, tap in Man United 4, Newcastle 3 at Old Trafford. I can't remember which year it was, but that's the kind of thing we need. We cannot be afraid, but at the same time, you need the force to make runs, and that's why I get onto Martial. That's why I get onto Rashford, because they don't do it enough. They need to keep doing it. Just give your players options. Let them see, okay, this guy keeps making runs, so I'm going to try and find him. That's what you need to be doing. So if we try and get our midfielders to be brave on the ball, you can create many chances on feet, ahead of the player. You just got to try your best to make something happen. If you make something happen, you get goals. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think in terms of the risk-taking factor, as you alluded to, the example of what Fergie said, I think that's what Manchester United is about. I mean, if you're not willing to take the risk and really impact the game, then you're just not fit for this club. It's as simple as that. This club isn't a club that any player can come and play here. You have to have real cojones. You have to have a lot of confidence. It's not easy. It's literally not easy. Every single thing you do is under a microscope, and that's what makes you an elite player. That's what makes you a standout of this club. A lot of players have come and gone, and they've not had that courage, hence they've not been successful. So I completely agree. I just want to finish on this last thing that Abdi Khani has asked. Shout out to you, my brother. Basically, the premise of the comment, yeah, I've kind of touched upon it very briefly, but I just want to say my thoughts. Basically, the premise of the question is about Mason Greenwood. For me personally, hopefully you guys can see my cursor. So this number 10 shirt here, again, ignore the numbers because they're not relevant to the position, so that's not Rashford here. So this number 10 spot here is the one position I think is going to be very important in the sense that this position can be shared by a lot of players. So we've got Jadon Sancho here on the left, which I think he has to play. Then we've got Marcus Rashford here on the left. Again, Martial could potentially play here. We have got options. Pogba could potentially play here as well as an inverted forward, depending on the system. But this number 10 spot here, Bruno, Martial, Cavani, and Greenwood could all quite easily play there. And what I mean by that, they offer different aspects. Obviously, Martial, he'll be a support striker. Bruno Fernandez potentially offers his creativity, his ability to drop into the hole to make it a 4-2-3-1. Obviously, that's where we haven't got the ball, just to give it a bit more defensive stability. Cavani, he's got his ability with his movement in behind. However, Mason Greenwood, where does he fit in here? Because a lot of people are worried about Mason Greenwood's game of own. I think this system here is the perfect system for Greenwood. The main reason being is he has no worries about defensive duties. If he's in this position here, number 10, alongside Cristiano Ronaldo, all he's got to think about is getting in front of goal and scoring. As kind of what we said earlier, there's going to be a lot of overloads with players such as Sancho and potentially Wan-Bissaka on the right here, creating overloads here, which gives Greenwood more space and more time to get a shot away. So for me, anyone that's worried about Mason Greenwood and potentially his involvement, do not be worried. Those two front men are basically going to be flourishing under the system if it's executed to perfection, because not only are they going to get a lot of chances, but they're going to get more time on the ball, because the defenders, as Kojo kind of alluded to earlier, they're going to find it very tricky to pick up players, because there's going to be so many players committing forward. It's going to be difficult for them to pick up all the bodies. So someone is going to sneak through. Maybe a Van der Beek late run from deep, maybe a Bruno Fernandez run from number 10, or Greenwood gets an opportunity to shift the ball and obviously take a shot from the edge of box. These players will get chances because of the overloads that we have created on the pitch. As you can see here, number 8, let me just quickly do my circle from last week. So hopefully this works. So as you can see here, number 8, number 10, number 11, a triangle there, and that is an overload, isn't it? Straight away. We've got a 4v3 here. So we've got 8, 10, 11, and 2 from Man United. And from their perspective, they've got number 6, number 3, and number 2. So it's an overload straight away. And people will say, well, why, Usman, that doesn't make sense, because why can't number 8 come across and cover? Well, if they want to come across and cover, by all means be, I guess, because if the ball is here, Van der Beek, he can nicely switch it, and then we've got an overload on the side of the pitch. That is basically what Rangnick's system is going to eventually have Man United playing, in the terms of creating overloads on the pitch, really affecting the opposition in the final third, and we're getting our main attackers in a place where they can hurt the opposition. So for me, no stress about Greenwood, no stress about Rashford, no stress about Sancho, etc., etc. A lot of them are going to get many opportunities in the system, and a lot of them are going to be in a position where they're going to flourish. So I'm really excited to see where it takes us. Of course, there is some reports that he's not going to be here at the end of the week. He is going to be here at the end of the week. We don't know when Rangnick is going to be in charge, but nevertheless, what we can guarantee is when he is in charge, Man United are finally going to have an identity. So hopefully this show has cleared up a lot of your queries, a lot of any issues or reservations, I think that's the right word, that you have with the new manager. I know a lot of rival fans are saying, who is he managed, X, Y, and Z. I can assure you, it doesn't matter who he's managed. This guy knows his stuff about football, and he's going to set us up to the best of our ability to really hurt the opposition. So for me personally, I, for one, I'm absolutely buzzing. Just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's tuned in. Obviously, if you're watching this on repeat, please do slap a like on the video. Obviously, the more likes we get, the more, obviously, it basically gives us a sort of thought process that you enjoy this content, and we will try and make this into a series if it's something worth doing. Apart from that, I'm going to pass it to Kojo firstly. Kojo, let the people know where they can find you, my guy.
Oh, bloody hell. Free Midfield Podcast on YouTube, Free Midfield everywhere else, including Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And actually soon, for anyone that's a FIFA or, more importantly, Football Manager fan, we're going to start doing some Twitches as well.
This is long overdue, this, Coach.
Some live streams. So, yeah. So, maybe I'll do a Man United one for the Man United fans. That'll be my personal save. Or maybe I'll continue the Newcastle save that I'm doing live as well. I'm trying to make Newcastle from what they are currently right now, which is still bums with money, to a good team with money.
Good luck, Coach, doing that, because that's going to be a struggle.
It's a damn struggle.
Yeah, I can imagine. But listen, I just want to say massive thank you to obviously everyone that's tuned in. Like I said, if you're watching a repeat, get your comments in down below. Please do slap a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Follow myself on social media, Usman Talks United. Follow Kojo on his social media, 3 in midfield. Obviously, everything else that he's just plugged. Please continue to support the channel, because without you guys, I mean, we are basically nothing, are we? So, basically, that's the end of the show. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed it. It's been your boy, Usman. I can't even speak. After all that, I can't even speak.